All right, we'll go ahead and we'll get started here. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and welcome to our 10th episode of EnergyBin Insights, the webinar series that explores solutions for PV repair, resale, and recycling. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Thomas Hennessy, and I am the Business Development Manager at EnergyBin, and we are an online business community for solar professionals who are committed to accelerating a robust and sustainable secondary market. Our members collaborate via trade, networking, and educational activities like this webinar. These webinars are made possible by collaboration with industry professionals like yourselves. Join our EnergyBin community to help support these efforts, to buy and sell equipment on our safe trading platform, and to network with your industry peers. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel to access recordings for this episode and other EnergyBin Insights webinars. Today's presentation is all about non-spillable, non-gassing AGM lead-acid batteries for home energy storage. Our guest speaker, John Kincaide, president at Second Life Batteries, will discuss the economic value of reusable battery applications and their end-of-life management parameters. Before we get started, feel free to pose questions as we go in the chat box. And thanks to those of you who submitted questions in advance. We will have time at the end of the presentation to answer any questions. And the slide deck is available at the end at the link provided in the chat box. John, welcome. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much.
I will go ahead and let you start sharing your screen, John, and then I've got lots of questions that I want to ask you today.
Sure. Well, let's get the screen share started.
Okay.
And share and view. And so so we can start with the questions, and then what we can do is select certain parts of the slides that would address the content of what you're asking.
Okay, sounds great. Well, could you start out by giving us an overview of the residential storage market today and Second Life Batteries? You can go into more detail on that.
Well, Second Life Batteries is it's all about reuse of batteries, and particularly is the lead acids that we've been selling. We've sold about over 9 megawatt hours of batteries since 2017. We've had some success in Canada, the United States, and even though some of our batteries were used in West Africa. We're now expanding our market to the residential market here in the United States and Canada, and more importantly, as well as into the Caribbean. We have done very successfully in Puerto Rico as well. The Second Life is all about reusing of battery technology. We'll in this presentation expand on how the applications and uses of it.
Okay. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about what your typical customer looks like?
Well, we're targeting roughly about we can scale from a residential system to a microgrid, maybe 200 kilowatt hours or more. But what we're really successful in doing is selling to a demographic that's, and shown on the screen here is that there's two sort of markets. One is those in the United States that are making less than $36,000 a year, which is about 50 million homes, and then those that are making $37,000 to $69,000 a year, it's about 21 million homes. We're trying to make sure that we're able to get the affordability of the problem solved, and we are, and we'll give examples of how it is. But is that we're able to make it available to those who cannot afford an expensive lithium-ion system.
Okay, can you give us a recent example?
Well, a recent example, we've well, for example, in Puerto Rico, they have used actually second reused solar panels, um, but with their location on the planet, they have a lot of sun. But they're able to use 4 of our batteries to provide them enough power energy storage to weather take out the weather, say, a storm, and power a small house. Um, you know, and that's an example of where we've done. And we've done about 200, about 497, 400, almost a half megawatt hour of of battery in about 50 homes in Puerto Rico. And they actually per capita per household is actually less than it is in the mainland. So they were able to obviously a great match of power and energy storage for the affordability.
Very good. What market growth can we expect to see this year and in the next 5 years of residential storage and second life used batteries?
Well, second life batteries is a new category for customers to consider. There's Second life is broken down into 2 different types of batteries or pathways. One is stationary storage to stationary storage, and one is EV to stationary storage. We are in the first path, and because lead acid is relatively less complicated to actually use, we're able to get it to the market in the right price point. EV to stationary storage is a complex process because the EV batteries were designed for EVs, not for energy storage for a home or business. Therefore, to tear apart a EV pack, to get the modules, to create an energy storage system with a new BMS, and then have that BMS certified for UL, and the whole energy storage system needs extensive testing for UL. It's a very expensive process. It can be anywhere from $50,000 to $200,000, and that's just one model so in other words, if you were making a 10 kilowatt hour system using that, then you can only sell that 10 kilowatt. You can't make it a 20 kilowatt or 40 kilowatt. You have to do that all over again. There will be a time when there's enough supply of second life batteries from EV sources to be able to meet the market. But most of the EV manufacturers, the EV second life battery manufacturers, are seeing enough product to make it an inroad, but not to dominate the market. As for the residential market, I think that the obvious needs will be to meet the needs of sort of the net, sort of the off grid and also the grid tie systems. I think that there is a hole in the marketplace where we're seeing more curtailment in the reality of in California, where they're stretching out the ROI for 2 years, for example, and that that 2-year ROI could be easily afford a stationary storage system, and even more with second life technology with lead acid, and also more self-reliance. In other words, if the grid's down, I use Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico and forest fires in California. They are good examples of why you need to have energy storage, even more importantly in this current environment.
Absolutely right. And I think, obviously we've seen a lot of natural disasters recently, and it seems like, there's definitely a niche for you there. But while we're talking about that, what are the primary reasons for homeowners adding storage units?
I think that the prime reason is that you'll need to have is the net metering situation in some kind. you can push your power out to the grid. It's fine. It makes money. Um, but yeah, but you're really self-dependent upon the grid. And I think that, overall, you're able to, if you're going to have energy storage locally inside your home, you're able to make it that self-sufficiency, that ability to be able to not be dependent upon the grid, and even if you're grid tied, and with and with the net metering, if the power goes out, you don't have power for your house. So again, that's an issue where you can install a grid system, an energy storage system for your home.
Excellent. Are you seeing more demand for your product in uh, uh, for example, places like, California affected by wildfires, and Florida here where I am with the hurricanes? I
Well,
know that's not your bread and butter, but it does seem like a lot of companies are buying from you from places like that, Puerto Rico, for example.
yeah.
What's different about that market?
I think that I would say that the difference is that we're addressing a need in the marketplace, and it doesn't matter if you're in Florida or Buffalo, New York. Disaster is going to happen anyways. I think that but the self-sufficiency is going to be a, a, a ongoing requirement, and if you can do it for less expensive with second life batteries, it's a way to make that happen.
Okay, thank you for that. I know that was a hard question. What can you tell us why you got into this business and how second life batteries might differ from other ESS companies in the industry?
Well, by chance, I own I own a company called We Recycle Batteries, with a battery brokerage service for recycling. And I was at a warehouse in 2016, and found out that they were a whole about 250,000 pounds of batteries that were used. And I was walking through doing the inventory control, and I was realizing that the batteries were very, very young. Some could last, 5 years, 10 years out from if it were in the original application, and they're all being asked to be thrown into the furnace. So the result is that we find that there's an opportunity here for why was this happening, and so we through I asked one of my buyers at the smelter, and he was able to refer me to a company that actually did reuse, and 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 we were able to establish a business relationship that's lasted all these years. Um, and I think that this is a great opportunity for us to expand on our knowledge, and we're not the first persons to do it. I mean, um, the company that I was introduced to had was servicing the Mennonite community in southwestern Ontario, and they've been using Second Life technology for 5 years, for 15 years. So they're self-sufficient and very reliable. Tends to be a self-sufficient community, and this is one way they're able to do it. And uh, and uh, and I think it's a great story to be able to tell this to be able to get this to different people in different parts of the country.
It all started from that one relationship.
Yeah.
Are you still working with that same company today?
Yes.
Good, good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I know that there's a lot of residential ESS products on the market today. Can you talk about them and tell us how they compare in cost and performance to lead acid batteries?
Well, the um, let me share another screen here. Another screen. This is an example of an installation, but hold on, please. Um, where is All good. To talk about the slide here, is this the value proposition of Second Life? To just could you just repeat the question, please, so I can.
I was just curious, what are the major residential ESS products on the market today, and how do they compare in cost and performance to lead acid batteries?
Okay. Well, the cost and performance is interesting. It's lithium iron phosphate is there's 5 different chemistries of lithium ion, and people realize have to learn about this. There 3 of them are have cobalt related technologies, and then 2 that don't, and then 2 that don't are and one of those is lithium iron phosphate, or LFP. And LFP lacks the cobalt and lacks the nickel, and therefore it's very expensive to recycle. But I say that for performance, I mean, the LFP is obviously a Second Life battery is been used before, and it may not have the same amount of legs, but it's compensated by the price. And also the fact is that that LFP, by the time you finish it with it, after it cycles for 10, longer lifespan, does have a cost to recycle. So to give an example, was I asked our engineer Adi to give us a cost comparison about the power of our product. And this particular graph shows you that with 4 batteries, I'll move this over here, 4 batteries, 8, 12, we actually exceed the Powerwall capacities. And if we wanted to go up to 24, we can actually do very well. And then, but for a cost perspective, you're looking at $800, $1,600, and at $2,400. We're actually well beyond the Powerwall capacity, and also well below the price. We're about 50% less or more in terms of cost. So I think that the LFP technologies is becoming more important in the solar industry. I think that NMC or nickel manganese cobalt is also potentially can kind of come in from the Second Life EVs. But I think that the dominant problem is that I find, and my biggest beef is about the LFP marketing and sales. My concern is that the LFP will be, when it's expended, is going to be a negative value product, and therefore, just like the old TVs that we all had sitting in our rooms, they were negative value, and therefore we ended up with massive storage of illegal storage of waste TV sets or TV tubes. This is the same thing that could be potentially happening with LFP, and we could have not docile TV systems, but could have explosive batteries that are stored illegally. That's the crystal ball view of it, but I hope that there will be technology that are able to make that less expensive. But
I want that, but can you expand on some of the cost savings as well with lead acid versus lithium?
Yeah, well, it's simple. It's the fact is that we're looking at the per kilowatt cost is much less than an LFP, a Powerwall. Even if you took LFP, discounted LFP from China, it would be a tough, pretty tough to match in terms of price. I think that you take a chance with some products from China. I think that having a product that's made in the United States or made in France, in the case of some of our batteries, you're going to be done with Western standards and Western technology, and that's going to make sure that you have a high enough quality in the battery.
I think it's a good visual. What are some I think you'll like this one. What are some myths about lead acid batteries that you want to debunk right now for our audience?
But we're not dead yet. Good old Monty Python phrase. I know the Monty Python was a skit in this particular movie. I've there's it's a multi-billion-dollar industry is lead, and it's still growing. It's doing about 5% growth, compounded growth in the future. And although we're talking about car batteries and other lead systems, it's about 98% of all lead in the United States and Canada batteries are recyclable. That can't be said about lithium ion at this point. I mean, there's definitely a lot of market new vendors in the market, or be able to pre-process process the lithium ion, but you won't get the value. I think it's about $7 per kilowatt hour value positive for lead acid, and say you take negative $17 per kilowatt hour for the LFP. Compared to our study in 2019, that's down from $35 per kilowatt hour. But still, if you have 100 kilowatt hours of storage, you're going to have $1,700 worth of that's not residential, but definitely if it's a microgrid, you're going to have a $1,700 kick to the can to get that stuff moved, and that's just the price to get it there. The price
Right.
of actually recycling it. Then you have to move it and package it and meet hazmat requirements. Conversely, with the lead acid that we sell, it's hazmat exempt, and therefore, unless it's not been opened up or damaged, it's not a very easy thing to transport.
And I wanted to talk to you a lot about that today, about recycling in general. I mean, are lead acid battery units recyclable?
Oh, very much so. I would make sure that people understand that we're offering an AGM product versus or not a gel cell or liquid acid. So people think of when you said lead acid, they think about liquid acid batteries, and there are some that are for utilities that are used in that mode, and they have potentially gallons of lead acid, sulfuric acid in them. We're not that. We have an AGM, which is basically a fiberglass wrap that wraps around the plates inside the lead plates inside the battery, and it's basically acts like a sponge, and you don't have any liquid acid in the battery unless it's charging or discharging, and it's very little to be able to do it. So that makes it very safe to transport and handle. Also, gel cells are another type of technology, but the gel cell technology uses a silica gel, and it won't, if you break it open, it will ooze out. But the fact is that the gel cells don't last as long in terms of discharge and recycling. You do cycling a lot of in solar applications, because the thing's going up and down like a yo-yo. The gel cells won't last as long as the AGM.
What are the end of life management steps that you recommend to responsibly dispose of batteries in general, of your batteries?
Well, very special. Well, we have what we strive to is to make sure that we have an opportunity to take back the batteries if it makes sense. For example, if we're doing a foreign country such as the Caribbean, we will make sure that because those countries don't have secondary lead smelters, we would make sure that we have a partner that can get the batteries off the island and get recycled, probably to Florida. But that's the thing. I think that also generally from battery technology, your lead acid is very recyclable. I mentioned that it's 98%. There's potentially it's infinitely recyclable. So there could be a chance of a few atoms of your car battery, lead acid battery, car battery, having from your grandfather had in his car. So it can make it's a very valuable proposition. I think that we'll eventually get there with lithium ion, but the chemistry has to be right from have nickel or cobalt in the product to make it a positive value right away, and it'll take a while, possibly quite a while for lithium iron phosphate.
How do you think it is that it's I'm not an engineer. You know, is it more challenging to recycle lithium than lead
Yes.
acid?
Yeah. Well,
Or
lead acid is pretty simple. It's basically I've done the deliveries back many years ago when I used to when I started my business. Is that you take a full truckload of batteries, and then they're immediately put on a secondary lead smelter, and then immediately put into a conveyor belt, and it goes to a hammer mill, and they break the batteries apart, and you get the lead plates right away, and then the lead's refined, um, and then they basically have different recipes for the different battery manufacturers to be able to meet the chemistry requirements. But lithium ion is a very extensive process. It's you have to break the batteries apart. Uh, uh, you may have to discharge them properly before you actually do it, or have a method to neutralize the battery. Either they can roast them, which is or heat them, which means that they lose the lithium compounds inside the actually the electrolyte, which is a negative loss, so that doesn't really do well. Or you can actually drown the batteries to actually make them not work. Or they could put another way to do it, but they actually have to shred the battery, uh, get the cathode, which is the positive plate, basically the positive active materials, and make what's called black mass. Um, and then they have to also probably refine that black mass from extraneous material like copper and aluminum. And then they have to then take that black mass to a refining plant that actually refines the material to extract the chemicals and make uh, the lithium hydroxide and also the cobalts and all the other kinds of materials into chemistry process, which is typically a what I'm talking about is the hydrometallurgical process happening in the marketplace. There's several companies that are doing that. And then from that, they actually can take the material, the hydroxide, and then make new batteries with it. And so there's about 5 steps or 6 steps that needs to be done before you get back to battery. With lead acid, it's about 1 or 2. So
it's easier and less costly to do it as of right now. I have a couple more questions for you, John, and then we have some questions for the audience too. And if anybody else has questions, you can ask them now in the chat box, and I want to make time for those. But um, what advice do you have for EnergyBin members who are looking to buy ESS for their customers
yeah.
or second life batteries?
Well, I would suggest that consider lead acid. It's worked well for a long time. Maybe not everybody could use it, but not. I'm sorry, I should say not everybody needs a lithium ion technology to do very simple stuff. And although that they may not last as long, but they provide the economic value today. And more importantly, is that you're actually reusing the technology. You're actually using a technology that prevents more carbon footprints. Think about it. You've taken a product that's actually been manufactured 5 years ago, and then extending it for 3 to 5 years more. That means that you don't have to take more virgin material out of the ground to make new batteries, and that means a huge carbon footprint savings. And in some cases with our batteries, they actually were used as backup power for some applications. So they've been sucking the grid power for 5 years. So now they are actually able to pay back their grid connection with solar, and then and plus more in terms of value for carbon footprint.
You're probably helping other companies reduce their footprint while also selling a productive asset at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yes, and
Okay.
we pay a reasonable price for the product, and then we were able to get it to the customer. and also that there are more and more SEC requirements to provide carbon footprint or carbon footprint in annual reports. So eventually there will be hopefully an incentive to actually use second life batteries based on reporting of SEC requirements.
Okay. What's the next big opportunity in the residential storage market, and what's next for Second Life?
Well, Second Life, I think that we're doing maximizing. We're still growing our lead acid technology in the residential market. We're also going to address some microgrid contact methods. We're looking at a lithium-ion technology for demand power. That's still in its product called Jeeves, but that's yet to be finalized. It's still in development thing. But for the market as a whole, I think that the prices are coming down on lithium-ion and to match or exceed. I think that the LF they're going to get a big boost from the IRA, but the ITCs. But the net result is that our prices are below even when you look at the ITCs. We're still going to be less costly than those lithium ions with and lead acids that have IRA ITCs applied. So we're competitive against them. I think that the industry as a whole will see a lot more Second Life EV technology entering the market probably in the next 3 or 5 years, and be able to reduce the cost even more. I would suggest that probably that if they can meet the lead acid other parties in the Second Life community that meet our price points, we will probably have a good reason for people to look at our products and also of others.
It's hard to forecast the future, but do you think that we will continue to see this explosive growth that we've seen in residential storage in the years to come?
I think there would be well, look at the market. It's going to be, we're addressing the small, not everybody can afford a Powerwall or a Powerwall type of technology. I think we're seeing expanding, we don't see solar on top of everybody's roof. The reason is that it costs too much. And if we're able to drive that cost down by the energy storage component, which is probably the most expensive part of the solution, we'll see more of that happening. And I think that we're addressing that $36,000 range of household income, and hopefully we're able to get it down lower and address that market.
Excellent. Thanks for the information, John. Excellent. I will have you, if you can, John, can you stop sharing your screen?
Yeah.
There's a few questions that I wanted to get to from the audience. I'm going to look at the chat. I know there was one that came through earlier. Can you please, and I know we touched on this earlier, but can you speak on end of life management specifically for lithium ion batteries versus lead acid?
Yeah, I think that well, I would say that in the United States, there fortunately with lithium ion, there are about 5 or 6 major plants companies that are scaling up to look after lithium ion, but they're using mostly production waste from the lithium ion auto plants. Eventually they'll, but they can take right now the lithium ion cells in modules for stationary storage. I think that until the time happens where you actually have direct recycling of and this is probably a newer technology or a promised technology, is where we can take cathode to cathode where we actually take lithium-ion cathodes and then make new lithium-ion cathodes without having to go through the five or six steps to get back to cathode material. That's when the recycling will be much more effective, but we're not there yet. I think that the lead acid is the handling and management of the lithium ion is quite extensive. It's a hazardous material. It's class 9. If you got damaged effective, look out. You're going to be spending a lot more money on trying to get those batteries to a recycling plant. But the lead acid is relatively safe and positive value.
I'm sure we will see some changes over the next 5 to 10 years. Do they have the technology needed to? Well, I know they have the technology, I believe, but it's going to hopefully get cheaper over the years. And
yeah, well, even there's furnaces. There's hydrometallurgical, which is probably the dominant method. But basically, they're taking batteries, making black mass, and then they're going to have to treat it, and it's going to be either a furnace or a hydrometallurgical. And then there's 2 companies here in the United States that have actually done direct sort of electroplating technology. So they're actually able to get raw metals out of the from the black mass, and then go to chemical treatment. But still, it's still too many steps to actually get to reduce the cost. We get to new lithium-ion battery technologies.
Thanks for the insight, John. I'm excited to see how that develops over the years. But as of right now, that was the only question that I've received. So unless you have anything else, John, we've come to the end of our time today. And I really appreciate you being here and for sharing your knowledge about certified second life batteries for home energy storage. And if anybody else does have questions, you're certainly welcome to reach out to us and reach out to John directly or reach out to me. My name's Thomas. And if you want to learn more about Second Life batteries, you can visit John's website. It's secondlifebatteries.com. It's second 2ND. So it's not spelled out like the word second, but you can visit his website and find more information there. And John, thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it.
I would add just the word we've tied the second. We own the Second Life spelled out as a domain, so that we can. So you could actually type in Second Life or the abbreviated for form to get to the website.
Excellent. That's a good idea. I'm glad you did that. But thank you everyone else for joining us. And if you want to, you can subscribe to our newsletter to get notifications for upcoming webinars like this. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Bye-bye.